Do you want to be ahead of the game for the latest in arts, music, cuisine, and entertainment across the Middle East's most dynamic capital cities? Al Monitor is proud to launch our City Pulse newsletters, focused exclusively on local news, starting in Riyadh, Dubai, Istanbul, and Doha. Each week, our on-the-ground writers in these cities cover the latest cultural happenings and trends, so you have everything you need to know for the best local experiences. To subscribe for free, go to almonitor.com, that's al-monitor.com, and sign up on our newsletter page.
Welcome back to the Al Monitor Brief. I'm Adam Lucente. Egyptian Foreign Minister Badr Abdelati and his Greek counterpart, Georgios Gerapetridis, met in Cairo on Wednesday to discuss the St. Catherine's Monastery, a religious site owned by the Greek Orthodox Church at the foot of Mount Sinai. The meeting follows reports that an Egyptian court last month challenged the church's ownership of the monastery. The monastery is believed to be located where Moses received the Ten Commandments and is thus holy to Jews, Christians, and Muslims. The news of the court decision drew criticism from the Greek Orthodox Church, and on Wednesday, the Greek and Egyptian foreign ministers pledged to maintain the status of the monastery. The issue isn't necessarily resolved, however, and all this is happening while Greece and Egypt are otherwise in a period of strong cooperation. My guest this episode is Al Monitor's news reporter, Rosaleen Carroll. Rosaleen takes us through what exactly is happening with the monastery, why it's so important to Greece, what Egyptian officials are saying on the issue, and how the controversy might affect overall relations between the two countries. Hope you enjoy. Rosaleen, welcome back to the Al Monitor Brief.
Thanks, Adam. I'm glad to be back.
My first question is, what is the status of Egypt and Greece's engagement on this issue surrounding the St. Catherine's Monastery? And has the dispute been resolved?
Sure. I wouldn't say it's been resolved. Egypt and Greece are actively engaged on the issue, and the current tensions were brought on by a legal case brought by the governorate of South Sinai, which is the Egyptian province where the monastery is located, and it challenges the monastery's ownership of 71, I believe it is, disputed plots of land. And then on May 28th, an Egyptian court ruled that while the monastery is entitled to use the land, the property itself is state-owned property. It also reportedly ordered Orthodox monks to vacate some plots, saying they had been illegally sequestered. So that court decision set off alarm bells in Greece, particularly amongst the Orthodox community, who viewed it as a challenge to the monastery's historical and religious rights. But as a response, Egypt's government said that the ruling does not change the monastery's religious or sacred status. But they did not, from what I've seen, the language used by those Egyptian officials did not stray into any statements regarding legal ownership. So it strayed away from legal language. And then there was some frantic diplomacy which ensued after the decision, with Egypt's president, Abdel Fattah el-Sisi, calling Greece's prime minister, and then a visit by Greece's foreign minister to Cairo this week. The foreign minister meeting resulted in both sides pledging to safeguard the monastery. So talks are ongoing, and the tone has remained cooperative, but the issue still appears open-ended, and there hasn't been a definitive resolution quite yet.
And going back a little, why is this site so important to Greece and also the Greek Orthodox Church?
So the monastery holds deep significance for Greece, especially for the Greek Orthodox. They administer the site, and it's a functioning monastery that has been continually inhabited since the 6th century. So the site represents centuries of religious continuity, and it's also believed to be near or around where Moses received the Ten Commandments. So it's not just important to Christians, it's also important to Jews and Muslims as well. But for Greece specifically, the monastery is essentially a living symbol of the Orthodox tradition, with long-standing ties to the Greek Church. And so that's why we saw the Greek Orthodox community so upset by the ruling, calling it a violent violation of the monastery.
Don't go anywhere. We'll be back with Rosaleen Carroll after this short break.
Today's transformation of the Middle East is at the center of global geopolitics. Whether you're an analyst, diplomat, executive, or academic, you need the best reporting and analysis to understand what's really happening on the ground and what it means for the world. Al Monitor is the award-winning independent leader in Middle East news. From Riyadh to Beirut, Abu Dhabi to Doha, and Baghdad to Tehran, our team of over 100 expert journalists report daily on the top stories driving the regional trends. Download our mobile app and subscribe to Al Monitor to follow what leaders and decision makers are reading every day. Go to almonitor.com, that's AL-MONITOR.com, and use promo code POD25, POD25, for a discount.
Okay, we're back. Rosaleen, the last question is more of a general one. How are Egypt-Greece ties overall at present? And is there any indication that the monastery dispute could affect their overall relationship?
So far, the dispute hasn't derailed the broader relationship between Greece and Egypt, which is quite close. If anything, they both seem committed to keeping it contained. Earlier in May, the Sisi was in Athens, and that was his 5th visit to Greece. And while he was there, they signed a strategic partnership agreement covering energy, investment, and migration. One of the centerpiece projects, both in that agreement and just broader within the relationship between Egypt and Greece, is I think, over 4 billion undersea electricity cable that will bring renewable energy from Egypt to Europe via Greece. So that's really important, and they're trying to protect that project. And that kind of collaboration signals that both sides want to keep their relationship strong, despite any disputes over the monastery. They've also, for years, have effectively worked in tandem to deal with immigration issues in the Eastern Mediterranean region. Egypt is often a launching point from Africa and the Middle East to Europe, and Greece is among one of the first destinations that migrants arrive to. Egypt has really cracked down on migration from its northern coast since 2016, and Greece has also taken an increasingly hard line on immigration coming into the country, and has actually prompted concerns from human rights organizations. But for Egypt and Greece, the relationship there is strong. But the monastery does add some pressure, I think, behind the scenes, probably. Greece views itself as a protector of Christian heritage in the region and in the Mediterranean region, and any ambiguity over the monastery's status could put some pressure on Greece's leadership to put pressure on Egypt.
Rosaleen, thanks a lot for your time, and we look forward to more of your reporting.
Thanks, Adam.
Thanks for listening to the Al Monitor Brief. Be sure to follow Al Monitor for more on the stories impacting the Middle East. Until next time, I'm Adam Lucente.